The question, though, and it's an open question, is if that pain would be sufficient to convince Kim Jong-un that nuclear weapons are not the way to go and to go back to the negotiating table for denuclearization. And so far, North Korea has demonstrated a tremendous willingness to bear a very high price to withstand tremendous diplomatic isolation in the pursuit of these weapons. And I have not seen any indication that any amount of economic pain would convince Kim Jong-un to abandon his ambitions.
Cutting off the oil supply, though, wouldn't just cause economic pain, would it? I mean, it would actually put a halt to some of the activities that they are in at the moment if they don't have access to fuel.
Well, that's true, and that's really the challenge for China, and why China has so far objected to sanctions like that. China's primary fear is an economic and political collapse in North Korea, which could send refugees into Northeast Asia and could allow for unification under Seoul's leadership. And that is something that so far China has not been willing to risk. So far, it seems that Chinese leaders have calculated that the nuclear issue is something that can be managed, that conflict is something that can be prevented, and their main priority is to maintain stability, and that means ensuring that sanctions are not too harsh so as to cause a collapse in North Korea.
So how is China going to be convinced? Because it appears to me that with all of these conversations, the one with the real power here is actually China, and they want to affect real change is China. And if they don't want to do anything because of their very valid concerns, what happens next?
Well, unfortunately, China seems to be motivated more by fear of the United States than by fear of a North Korean nuclear weapon. So indications that the United States is going to be responding to these problems by further increasing its military posture in the region, that THAAD, which China has objected to so strenuously, would only be the beginning of a much broader effort to enhance the U.S. military posture to defend itself, to defend its allies in response to this North Korean buildup, may get China's attention, may get them to take it more seriously. The other question, though, is if when China looks at North Korea and says enough is enough, that North Korea has conducted this test just a few weeks before Xi Jinping's very important party congress, and whether or not the instability that North Korea is causing, the potential for conflict, the potential for instability, is enough for Xi Jinping to change his approach and to make the determination that a unified Korea, that a North Korea that has been denuclearized, in which China and the United States are more cooperative, is more in China's interest than continuing to try to manage the situation.